Welcome to the United Show, and we've got a full house today. I'm your host, Nathan Ellington, for once. Kieran's not here. He's watching the Arsenal game. So obviously we decided we're going to have to keep this going, and we've got actually a great panel today. We've got Garth, we've got Lee Ellington, we've got Dale O'Donnell. How are you all doing?
Good, thank you, mate.
Good to see you again, Lee. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, mate.
Over now, isn't it? So
it is.
But yeah, we've got a lot to get through today, so we want to crack straight in. And Dale O'Donnell has got a lot of news for us that I think all of you that are listening in are gonna want to hear. So Dale, I want you to take it away. I know what you got to say. The first thing we're going to be talking about is this Frankie de Jong news. So what can you tell us, Dale? What can you tell us?
Yeah, of course, in the last 24 hours or so, I think it's the question most United fans have is that really a realistic aim for Manchester United this summer? Can we sign Frankie de Jong? Well, the answer is right now is it's early stages. And Manchester United, I think it's quite understandable that they don't want to come out early doors and make it very clear that they'll be chasing this player. He's a player that Erik ten Hag has worked with. He's a player that United like and rate and will sign if they can. But right now they're playing their cards close to their chest. And I think you look in previous years of what's happened in transfer windows with Sergio Ramos and other players that have either played for Barcelona or Real Madrid. When they come out and they're quite vocal, or their agents are vocal about Manchester United, it boosts their image, it boosts their profile, it shows that they're in the market. I don't quite think this is the case with Frankie de Jong, because from my understanding, from the player's point of view, he's not looking for a move away from Barcelona. This seems to come from Barcelona's side of things. And if you look at the way it was portrayed in the media initially, it came from all the big Spanish newspapers. And we know how the big Spanish clubs operate within the media in terms of pushing rumors and pushing agendas to get either managers or get players out of our clubs. And I think that's what could be happening here, because we know Barcelona have financial problems. If they realistically want to make 4 to 5 signings this summer, they're going to have to sell a player that they can get 70 or 80 million for. And they don't have many of them that they'd be willing to get rid of. And Frankie de Jong is not having the greatest of seasons, but I think Erik ten Hag will believe that he'd be able to turn that around if the player is willing to take a year or so out of the Champions League. That's another big question.
Yeah, you know what? The first thing you say there is like, Frankie de Jong, great player. Isn't that a lot of money to spend on one player when we know we can have, like, you know, we're looking to get like 8-9 players in? I know it's going to be a great addition, but what do you think of that?
I think it's an interesting one, because I'm not saying Manchester United should model themselves on Manchester City, but I do know a lot of people would agree that Manchester City, in a football sense, have got a lot of things right in recent years. Going back to previous transfers, you look at there's been players that have signed for Manchester United, and their agents have spoken off the record about, say, dealing with the club before the deal was done and dealing with Man City. And the difference in which those clubs operate, in terms that Man City come and they show you their project. They show you what they're going to do. Manchester United ask questions like, how many followers can we gain on Instagram? How we can build your profile and all that kind of garbage. That's what Manchester United need to change. Maybe that will come with the likes of John Murtough and those kind of football people. But ultimately, there's so much to fix here. But with the thing with his valuation, it's interesting when I bring up Man City. They've been noted as being interested in Frankie Young, but they see him as being very expensive, and perhaps too expensive. That's telling. Okay, that's telling, because Man City and that have gone off. I know they've signed 100 million for Jack Grealish, but you look at some of their other players, the recruitment down the years, it's been pretty good. There hasn't been this sense when they go to Spain and they go to Germany to sign players, oh, they haven't got Premier League experience. None of that garbage, because these players come and fit into that manager's system. And that's what Manchester United need to start doing. We've got a manager now that has a system, that has a preferred style of playing. So will the club now go and back him to get the players that he needs? And he knows, that Frankie de Jong would fit into his system. So I
See,
think
that's
that's a true
That's
signing.
saying. Oh, sorry, Dale. Sorry, mate. Continue.
Just 1 second. If that takes 70 million, and the manager has come to the club and said, "I want him. He can help play a kind of football I want," then we have to go and get him. Have to go and get him, because the difference is, to go back to City, and the reason why they've been so successful under Guardiola, and it's not just because Guardiola is a great coach. There has to be an understanding between the club and the manager. So Guardiola went to City and got back. I think in his first summer they got 7 or 8 signings or so. Clear sign the club are backing him. That's what United need to do. They have to show the manager is the most important person. I think I said this on a previous episode I was on with this show as well, about Liverpool. You know, with Liverpool, that Jurgen Klopp is the manager. He's the boss. He's the most important person. United need to treat Ten Hag the same way.
See, that was my question for you, Dale.
I was going to say, sorry, just I'm trying late. But like, my thing is this, yeah. You just mentioned Liverpool, which is a big, like, obviously a talking point as well. I think for me, the biggest thing about Liverpool is their wage structure, and I think that for me is what is so important, because we are currently paying Jadon Sancho £350,000 a week to perform for us. Yeah, who agreed to that? Who like signed that off? Because I'm like, why would you let that happen to a 21-year-old to be like, okay, here you go, £350,000 a week to be our talisman, to be our, Eric Cantona kind of signing, and you're not performing and living up to that. So it's like, for me, you can look at KDB, you talk about Man City, you look at Salah, you look at Mane, you look at Firmino, Jota, all those players, Luis Diaz, and you're like, you compare Luis Diaz to Sancho, and like, they're night and day right now. So it's like, who is signing off these massive wage structures that are allowing these players to make so much money but do little performances? That's what I kind of want to know.
Right. Before you answer that, Del, Garth, you say what you're saying as well. Del, you can answer both of them.
No, it was a very similar point. My point, it was, is Ten Hag actually? I've seen a lot of rumours recently of transfers all over the place for the last few weeks. Ten Hag's been in Ajax. Is he actually having any decision making in these transfers? I know he had the meeting today, but before today, was he in contact with basically what Alex is saying? Like, we seem to be someone upstairs is offering these wages, and like the recruitment team is coming out and like suggesting these players. So that was my worry, but it feels like today he had a meeting, is what I've been reading. So.
Yeah, I think you can pretty much tell from what's being reported about the names that are been consistently named in the past few months. There will be names that the recruitment team have put forward that Ten Hag will then come and decide. He'll bring forward his own names. Frankie de Jong is one of them. In the past 6 months, Frankie de Jong wasn't linked to Manchester United. It was Declan Rice. And I think in the past few weeks, the Declan Rice trail has got very, very quiet. Very quiet. So it's starting to change. That's like with Ten Hag now, the league is done, Eredivisie's won. Now we're going to really start to see who United are going for. As someone who works and covers news with United, I don't know all the targets. I don't think anyone does right now, because there is that transitional period that exists, that he is still Ajax manager. He's probably named 3 or 4 names that he would recommend to Manchester United. Whether they can do it or not, we'll have to see. But I think what it'll come to is, it will come as a mixture, and he'll be able to veto what he thinks is right or wrong for his team. And I think it'll be quite interesting, because he will get some indication over the coming months or weeks if the likes of John Murtough and them are on the same page as him, in a sense that these guys have been delegated to run the football side of things. But if they don't see things like Ten Hag, there's going to be problems there. And he'll be able to make a judgment of that in the coming weeks, I think. But as for Jadon Sancho's his wages and how big they are, look, I totally agree. And it's nothing actually down to the player that Jadon Sancho is. Personally, I look at his age. So I look at players 21, 22, 23. They should not be getting anywhere near that money, because I would feel that if I got that money at that age, I've met it. Okay. So you're talking about some great players, Kevin De Bruyne. When he went to City, I guarantee he wasn't on that money at first.
Yeah.
Guarantee he wasn't. Now that's money at Manchester United we can pay, but I think we should keep that for players that actually come, show their worth, and then earn it. Now I know it's different with Jadon Sancho. He was break. Well, it's kind of rich calling him an international because he kind of it's on the fringe of the English team for some time, but he was a recognised European star. I think he came, of course, with massive marketing possibilities, and that's why he got that big contract. But I do agree in theory that Manchester United changed their wage structure, and that we're not signing these young players and giving them over 200,000 a week immediately. You know, we can sign a player on a 4-year contract, 5-year contract, give him whatever, and 2 years down the line, if he's done his bit, there you go. There's your contract. I think something has to change. Obviously, we have a lot of players leaving at the end of the season on free contract. But if you look at some of our down the years, we've rewarded players with bigger contracts that haven't even been in the starting 11. So where is the logic there? Where's the logic?
I think it's more to do with the trying to hold on to a player's value. But Lee, I'm interested to hear what you've got to say on anything that we've been just talking about now.
I think it's really interesting. I think the Ten Hag thing. I think although he's been at Ajax, you can't switch off from becoming Man United manager, and I think he'll be working hard through the night of targets that he wants. I think you can't help yourself. You do your day-to-day at Ajax, but you're done there, and I think he'll be working with the club, finding his next targets. But I think it's really interesting in what route you go down, because we're talking about backing the manager. Well, I think they've backed every manager that's been at the football club. Whether the recruitment's right or wrong, to me, it's probably wrong at the moment. But everyone that's come in, they've backed, and it hasn't worked. I think I wasn't sure on the Ten Hag when he was appointed, but the more I look at it now, I'm quite excited by it. I think that he can bring a real good style of play to the football club. But he's got to be backed, and this isn't going to happen overnight, unfortunately. I think we're so far off. I watched Man City last week at Real Madrid. I thought they were sensational for 89 minutes. Like, you can't lay a glove on them, to be honest, and I don't think you can lay a glove on Liverpool. But it takes time. It does take time, and that's what Man United need. They've got a lot of dead wood there from top to bottom, in my opinion, and I think it's going to take time. But I think when we get one or two through the door, I think we have to be careful, like you say now, signing these massive players on massive money. You want people to come to your football club because they want to be there. And unfortunately, where Man United are at the moment, they're at the bottom of the pile of the top 6 sides. And it's going to take a little bit of time. We need to get back in that Champions League quite quickly. And once they do that, they can start attracting the players. But if you actually go and see Liverpool sign, they very rarely go and sign the best player in the world or the top 2 or 3 players in the world. They go and sign a player that fits to their system. And that's what Man United have got to get to. The problem is with Man United at the moment, they haven't got a system. They're very much, they're not off the cuff. I don't like to say that because I think that's disrespecting any manager that goes to the football club. But they are slightly off the cuff. They'll always have a plan, but the plan doesn't work for the players that they've got. So they've got to find a style, and they've got to go and find the right people that fit that style. I said before, I think they need a defensive midfielder in Rice, or I always say that Calvin Phillips would be a great signing for Man United, but whether that'll ever happen, I don't know. They need a ball-playing midfielder. They need quite a bit, and I think it's going to take time. This isn't going to be an overnight one transfer window. This is 5 or 6 transfer windows to get it right, and that's the problem. And they're a long way off. So really interesting, I think. But I'm massive on, look, he'll be working very hard on Man United stuff without a shadow of a doubt. He'll have a book on his desk at the club or at home, and he'll be working on that when he's not working on Ajax stuff without a shadow of a doubt. So it's going to be really interesting.
Good. Well, look, Dale's got another subject that he wants to, update us on as well. But before that, is anyone going to say anything more on this point before we move on to the next point at all? Everyone
I just want to know, are we getting Frankie? That's what I want to know. Dale, tell us, please. please. Are we?
We've got a few comments. We've got a few comments about that.
It's such early doors just yet to commit and to say that it will happen. But the fact that it hasn't been shot down by anyone just yet gives a bit of hope. You know, people in positions that could shoot this story down, they haven't. So there's legs there. There's legs.
So just on the wages quickly, just on the wages, is the fact that we're paying these wages because we've fallen so low, we're not a major draw to some, especially now we're at the Champions League as well. We're not a major draw compared to a Liverpool and Man City or some of these big, what are now powerhouse European teams. Would that be one of the reasons we're having to pay to get them to come in the first place? If that makes sense.
Yeah, they've missed out on a. You know, I think, you know, City have decided sometimes to not take players on because they wanted too much. You know, they wanted very good players, and they said, "Listen, if you want that much, see you later, mate. We'll find someone else." And that's what United can't afford to do anymore because they ain't got the power no more. So, yeah, I think I'll have you right on that one. But right, so we're on to the next one here. Something very, very interesting. A certain Dylan Levitt has come up. So Dylan, what can you tell us about this guy?
So I think at the start of the season when United sent a few of their players out on loan, James Garner, Dylan Levitt, Brandon Williams and a few others in the academy, that if you looked at some of the midfielders, you looked at Garner and Levitt, you would have put Garner miles ahead of Levitt. With no disrespect to Levitt. Levitt is a good footballer. He has lots of pedigree, but Garner was that bit ahead. So to see Garner go and flourish this season, really isn't that much of a surprise. It's a pleasant surprise to see him do it in the FA Cup against Premier League opposition. And that's why I think so many United fans are optimistic and excited about his chances next year. But when it comes to Levitt, he's went to Dundee in Scotland and he's absolutely flourished to a degree that I don't think many people expected. And it's really, really impressive. Also, when I say he has value, his contract runs out at United at the end of the year. Dundee want to keep him next year. And I've been told that the two top Scottish teams, Rangers and Celtic, are both looking at him right now. So if they're interested, why aren't United offering him a new deal? Get that done. You know, give him a 3-year contract, send him back to Scotland for the year, come back and maybe assess it. Is he ready for United then? Because my thing is, we talk about giving players contracts and keeping players for too long. There also comes a time where you give a player a contract, a young player, when he has a bit of value. You know, Scotland and Rangers are interested in this kid after a year in Scotland of Dundee. That's impressive.
Very, very.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say about him, he's 21. I would say it has to be this year that he breaks into the Man United team, really. If he's going to, if he'll be 22, 23 by the time we're talking about him breaking through at United, and would have moved on by then. That's the only thing, because I like him a lot, Welshman, just like me, so I want him to play for Man United. I think he's a quality little baller, to be quite honest with you. I'd like to see him sign a new contract. But a bit like a lot of our youth players at the moment, I feel like they've got to make, like these 20, 21-year-olds, they've got to make their step now. At best next year. But for me, Levitt needs, and Garner, they need to make their step up this season. Personally, I think. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, it's a good point. But on that, Nathan, when you were playing, was there any late bloomers that you recall? So we're talking past 21, 22. Is there any lads that kind of you played with that maybe 23, 24 then shot up from the academy?
Well, this is the thing. I think when you're coming through at age 17, like I did, that's early. It's not, most people are not coming through at that age. They are coming through 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. They're playing in the lower leagues, getting used to it, then blossoming at the 25, 26 level. So it can happen. And it is, I guess that's more the norm, if you get what I mean. Not everybody gets big into a man size at that young age. Like Dylan, he's a little guy, isn't he? So for him, he needs to fully blossom into a man, then be ready for men's football. So now
if you throw him in beforehand, he won't be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Problem is Nathan as well. You know, as you come through the hard way. You come from the lower leagues into the Premier League. You done it probably the hardest way you can do it in football. We're talking Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Man City. It's such a big jump. It's such a big jump at that age. I personally haven't seen a lot of the lad. I see the goal last night, but if you're not breaking in at that age, 22, 23, could be too long. Could be too long, and he might have to go and find another way. That's not to say that in 3 years' time, Man United don't go back in for him. But are they going to throw him in now after a season at Dundee? Probably not. That's the problem. Probably not. And that's a difficult one. Like you say, do they loan him out to a Celtic and Rangers and see how he does? But they know better than us, don't they? They're seeing him day to day, and they'll know if he's short or if he's not. But like Nathan said, Nathan come through such a hard way, the lower leagues, broke in all the way through. When you're at that club, if you're not broken in and by sort of 19, 20, I don't see people coming in for all the way till 22, 23 and then breaking into the team.
No, it's you're going out and coming back, I think. Alex, you want to say something? Go on. What you got to say?
I don't know. I think that old sort of saying comes into my head, like, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I feel like we've seen it in the past. Like, we've seen Wayne Rooney, like, break through the ranks, obviously. We've seen Jack Wilshere. Like, we've seen so many, like, young, promising stars come through. My problem is when I think about the academy and I look at, like, the people or the players that we have, I just don't know if the physicality is there for them. And so that's my biggest, like, worry and wonder is like if the physicality is there for the Premier League. So it's like, are they good enough to face up to the big teams? And, like, I've watched, like, Man City's academy, and they're not really featuring right now. Like, you've seen, like, Pep be very kind of selective and very slow burn with that. So it's like, I know that we've got a massive history. Historically, we're very good with our youth talent, but I don't want to, like, push them out there because it's, like, what we're known for. And just, like, yeah, you've won a few cups and stuff. Like, that means that you're ready and able to, like, be a part of the first team. So that for me is a question mark. There's so many other players around the youth academy that we hear, the big names, but I'm just, like, very hesitant now because I've seen Elanga and I love Elanga, but I've watched him and I'm like, are you really ready for this team? I just not. So that's my hesitation with, like, churning out any more youth players, because I feel like they need to, like, progress and if it is that sort of breakout star like a Rooney, then yeah, of course, obviously, or like a Gerrard back in his day. I just feel like we don't have that right now yet. So I'm ready to kind of just wait, let them simmer, let them cook, let them win. And I think what was a poignant thing is that they won their FA Cup, and for them, that's a good starting point for them to be like, yeah, they're hungry. So we want people that are winners, proven, that they can come up and now win something with the main team. So I'm happy to kind of wait and let them simmer.
Just quickly, if we did have him on a 3-year deal, what sort of value do you reckon Rangers or Celtic would buy him for? We'll be talking like 12, 15 mil or something, or less than that.
The truth of the matter is, there's no way of finding out, and United can't find out either, because right now he's going on a free, and United can't even seek out what his market value would be, because United wouldn't have expected him to blossom this season the way in which he has done. You know, he's had goals to his game, and if you speak to any Dundee United fan, they're all raving about him.
Yeah, they love him.
This kid hasn't just gone there and played well. He's a fan's favourite there. They genuinely want him to stay. Now, just on what Alex was saying, and I know a lot of United fans, and we've been beating a drum about it for some time, how poor the recruitment has been for years. But I also have big concerns about the way we've been developing players. I'm not talking about the academy. I'm talking about when players have stepped into the first team, when we've signed young players, and the lack of development we've seen in recent years. Like Wan-Bissaka, not picking on him, I'll name a few. Wan-Bissaka will cost 50 million. Came to Manchester United, has not developed. He has not got better. He isn't like he just hasn't, nowhere near better. You look at Marcus Rashford, played for a lot of the time during injuries, mishandling. That's not good development. Not good for his development. He doesn't look like a player to me that has developed areas of his game in the last 2 years. So what are the coaches doing? And I'm not blaming players. This has to come to the coaches. And we've seen lots of flip-flopping, and Rangnick come in, and Rangnick having the choice of bringing in 2 or 3 or 4 people, while a bus load of the rest stay from the previous manager. That doesn't work. Like, if a manager comes in, he has to have his whole team.
You're right.
You're right, lads, because you will have people as a manager, and Nathan, you've worked in football. You can have a dressing room of the nicest people, but it's a cutthroat business, and there will be someone there saying, "Disagree with that. He's talking through his arse." because they're not on the same team.
Yeah.
That's why Rangnick and Ten Hag and all them, they need to have their full backroom staff. No point keeping Mike Phelan around for a day ticket.
Yeah. You're right. Oh my gosh. But Dale, before you go, just a quick word on the last thing that you can touch upon, and that's this FA Cup where we just won. Just give us your little, your what you got to say about this one.
Yeah, look, it's our 11th time in the FAU Cup, which is just fantastic for a club that we're so proud of our traditions in producing the best young players. And we just spoke for 15, 20 minutes about basically our kind of hunger to see young players come through and be developed the right way. That's what we want. I don't care about seeing United go out signing the most expensive players. I get a kick out of seeing young players come through and watching them blossom. So that's what we're proud of, and we saw last night that we have another pool of very talented young footballers coming through, which hopefully we can nurture a few of them and get them into the first team. But I think the biggest note from last night, as well as winning the FAU Cup, was the 67,000 people that showed up. Because just to try and imagine how big that is for every player that's on the pitch. I'm not even talking about just the United 11, but the Nottingham Forest lads. That's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable to play in front of that amount of people at Old Trafford, and it's something that some of those players will never get close to doing again. They did it in an FAU Cup final, and it was a historical moment. Thankfully, Manchester United did the business, and Garnacho, for a player who has starred in the FAU Cup, I kind of laughed last night because he didn't play well. And he still scored 2 goals, and the performance from watching this under-18 team, they performed a lot better this season than they did last night. I think when they reflect back on the performance, a few will be probably a little bit disappointed. But they have the FAU Cup. They're the 11th United U team to do so, and we're all very proud of them.
I saw a great stat. About that. Every one of those 11 teams that won the FA Youth Cup, we've had at least one player go on to make 80 first team appearances for Man United.
That's
so,
brilliant.
yeah, you know what I mean? So fingers crossed someone out of that batch comes, you know what I mean?
That's it. Like, if you get one player out of an under-18s team that makes it into the first team, isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
And the rest, you just hope that they go off and they get good careers and develop. Do you know what I mean? That's all you want.
100%. But yeah, that's just everything we want to see. At least we can end the season on that kind of note, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something to look back at one, even though it's the youth team. So
why do you think there were so many people turning up to the game? Like,
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
We're thirsty.
Gagging for a trophy. We'll take anything. We'll take anything.
We'll take it.
Like I just said to Nathan, I'm taking that Eredivision title that Ten Hag's just won. That's a Man United trophy as well, mate.
I took that too.
We claim that.
I celebrated that too. I was like,
that's our news now. That's our news. But I think that's all Dale's got time for. But thanks a lot for coming on the show today and giving us your 10 pence worth. And it's been very, very interesting. And I look forward to seeing you next time you're on. Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Have a good night, lads. Take care.
All right.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. So we are on to exactly what we were just talking about. The Ajax 5-0 win. Ajax won 5-0 yesterday. Our new manager has come in, and obviously he's now turned his attention to Man United from today. And straight away we had that news about obviously the possible players coming in. I know you guys have got things to say. I can see it on your face. So, Alec, you look like you got something to say. Lee, you look like you got something to say. Lee, I know you're watching the game.
Always.
What's the score?
I was going to say, do you know what? I
2-0. 2-0 Spurs.
No, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Is it 2-0 Spurs?
Oh, wow. Someone messaged Kieran. Someone messaged Kieran. See how he's doing.
Who scored? I know Harry Kane scored the first one.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane both.
Harry Kane. Sorry. Now I was going to say, do you know? No, it's just Arsenal fans. Sorry, that's inspired revenge. Anyway, back to the main program. I was just going to say, for me with Ten Hag, and I didn't follow the win, but I did see the after effects and the results and blah blah. For me, what that was like is that this manager is someone who knows how to win and who wins. And I don't care if it's in a league that everyone says is a farmers league or it's whatever. It's like, you know, the formula to win. He knows how to win, and that passion or that feeling of wanting to win is obviously going to be ingrained in him. He's going to want to come to United. He's going to want to win something. I'm not saying that in the first season he's going to win stuff. I think he's very realistic about what he's got going on. I'm sure he's seen our last season. But what I'm saying is that he's got that motivation, and that is what we need. A proven winner who knows how to get things done, who has a style of play. I'm looking forward to seeing him just implement that style with the new squad that he's going to amass. And so I feel like watching him celebrate, I was like, oh, it gave him a little bit of more personality and a bit of identity to him. I was like, oh, I can identify with you. Look at you. Like with Fergie, you never get the dancing Fergie. You never see that time. So it's like, it's good to see our new manager kind of like getting down and like being inclusive with his players. I feel like that is going to really work really well with the players that he will get. So I'm excited for that. I'm happy that he's coming. So I mean, in 6 months, let's see what I say. But that's how I feel right now.
The best you get out of Fergie was the double fist pump, weren't it? That's the best you get out of Fergie. Just doing that.
Chewing, and be like, yeah, good win.
But Lee, I've got obviously with me, I'm looking at Ten Hag and I'm thinking, right, he just won. Who's coming with him? So the question is for you: who do you think's coming with him out of the players? Obviously, you probably know if you need to know the names that I'm thinking of. But what do you think, Lee? Who do you think would possibly come with him realistically?
I think Frankie de Jong will come. I think that's done personally. I think it will be a big signing. I think he needs that in his first transfer window. I think the club need to back him on that, and I think that will happen. I think they need a lot. I said it there. I think they need a lot. I really do. And it's where do you go with it? Like, where do you start? And this is the problem. They've got a base of a good side. Look, they'll always be in the top 8 at the moment. They'd always be in the top 4. But where do you go with it? I think you've got to go and find them gems like we've just touched on about Man City and Liverpool do. You know, I think they've missed out on a few. My problem is, I don't actually know who makes the signings there. I genuinely believe some of the signings that have been made were not Solskjaer's signings. We're not maybe Mourinho's signings. We're not maybe the one before that, Van Gaal's signings. And I think that lies your issue. And maybe now they've learnt their lesson and they have to trust the manager, because look, unless you're on board with your recruitment and you work side by side with each other and you know the targets you want to go for, if someone's bringing in players that you don't want, it's not going to work. You know, we talk about Van der Beek all the time. Now, what's happened there? What's happened there? Because that, you can't tell me that's one of the manager's signings, because he's not featured. So who's bringing him in? And this is the problem, and we'll continue to be down this road, and it'll be the same conversation week on week unless the manager is allowed to go and do what he wants to do. Now, the problem is that takes a huge pool of money, which is not going to happen in the first transfer window. As I say, it's going to take time. But the problem is, if you want to keep attracting these good players, then you've got to get your Champions League. Now, are they going to be good enough next year? I think personally, Chelsea could struggle next year. I still think Arsenal and Spurs will always be able to be got at. I don't think you lay a glove on the top 2 at the moment. So we've got to be looking at that 3rd, 4th spot for next year as the main goal. And then try and push forward from there. And you get in the Champions League, you're able to bring 1 or 2 in. They need a centre forward. They need a midfielder. You know, we rely massively on Ronaldo. Fantastic player, fantastic talent, 37 years of age. The problem is, you play with 10 men at times, and we said that. You know, I don't believe, and people might have me wrong here, I don't believe he plays in the Liverpool side on a week in, week out basis, because they're all about hard work. And you look at the work rate Man City produce week on week. Man United have to get to that, because that's what's lacking in their performance. It's 1 or 2 will do it. You need 11 doing it. So they need to go and recruit legs. They need to go and recruit energy. They need to go and recruit players that want to be at the football club and not be there for a pound note. And unfortunately, there's a lot of players there at the moment earning very, very good money that are not good enough. I was always sceptical about the Sancho signing. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's the one that we're looking for. I think there's better out there. But I think, again, they've done it for a reason of selling shirts and they've got the next best prospect. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Now, it might work with a different formation, a different setting, a different manager, but it doesn't work at the moment. And I think it's going to take time. But I think, I said to you earlier, I was a little bit worried about the manager. I weren't sure. I thought that, it was going to go down a different route. But actually looking at him, looking at the work he's done, I'm quite excited by it. And I think he could produce a real... I just don't want to get into that Van Gaal situation where we were so boring. We kept the ball for fun, but God, we went nowhere. Backwards and sidewards all game and never produced and never penetrated and never scored goals. So we've got to try and get to a formation that works, an attacking formation, what Man United are renowned for. Get at the back four right, which isn't right at the moment. And then hopefully we'll see rewards in the next 18 months, 2 years. I think that's how long it's going to take. I don't think it's an overnight job. But I do think we'll get there eventually. I do think so. But they've got to have trust in the manager now. It's going to be ups and downs. But I think he'll come in and he'll give us a new lease of life, maybe, and maybe that's what we're looking for.
But I was gonna add to that. Sorry, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if everyone remembers, like, back in the day when Mourinho first came to the Prem, right, and then it forced Fergie to change his formation. Then we started playing in the 4-3-3. I think in the beginning phases of that, like, transformation, Man United fans did not like that. And if people were like, I don't know if you remember it, but back in that day, people, even like 06, 05, like, everyone was like kind of resistant to it because it was a change. And it's like, we didn't trust the process then. So it's like, are we going to trust this process that's going to come up now? Are we going to trust it enough? And it's like, even Fergie was trying to implement something new and we were still resistant to it. But when it started to work, then we got on board. So it's like, I don't know. I just wonder with us as fans, like, we like the great attacking football, but when it changes and when it's different formation, different manager, different system, so are we willing to, like, really stay the course and be patient enough to see it through and to, like, watch it prosper? That's what I want to know.
You know what?
The problem is as well, sorry, Nate, I was just going to say, the problem is as well, from 1992, 93, Man United have been renowned for serial winners. So if they have the odd bad season, they come back and do really well. So this is new to a lot of supporters, that the last 2 or 3 years and probably 2 or 3 years in front have not been great. And at some point you have to go, right, it is the players, because I think we've seen it now. It is the players. So we need a new restructure. And I say it to anyone I ever speak to. I don't care what manager you are. I don't care who you are. You're only as good as your players. And I firmly believe that. The 2 best teams in the league, I guarantee they're the 2 hardest working teams in the league. And you're only as good as your players. And unfortunately, Man United players aren't good enough. Now, whose fault's that? I don't know. Who's brought them into the club? I don't know. But that's what needs to change. And I think need to trust the manager, trust what he's going to bring to the club. And hopefully we see a new rejuvenated Man United.
You're damn right. And then just to touch on that quickly, I just meant the minute you started talking about the change of formation, I just remember a certain very, very good player who we couldn't get the best out of. Shinji Kagawa. He was on fire, Dortmund, and then we come to United and no one's seeing him making the runs. We're not direct like that, and that's what the problem was there. And it just reminded me of, when you bring in players, they're used to it's a different way of football, a person seeing that run straight away and finding them. This is why Sancho, I can get where you're coming from, Lee. I think he's good enough. I just think he's not in the system that fits his style.
Sorry, no, just on that, just touching on that there. It's amazing though how it never happens at Man City or Liverpool, really. When they bring a player in, it fits to their style and their system. So that's why I go back to the point is who's bringing the players in? Because for me, it doesn't look like the manager's bringing the players in from the style of play that he wants to play. It has to be someone else. And that's the problem. And that for me would be the worry. Listen, Sancho's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't hit the ground running like you would think he has for the money that you paid for him.
Yeah, and I think, personally for me, Sancho, I think he's a bit of a victim of Ronaldo turning up, because our system changed a little bit once Ronaldo came. We were building around Sancho, is what I thought we were doing, and then we signed Ronaldo. I mean, I know where you're coming from, because we haven't seen anything from him this season at all, really, when you think about it. We've seen a few highlight performances here and there, Sancho, But I've got faith that he's going to come good next year under like you're saying, under a different formation, hopefully anyway. Otherwise, as another player that we spent 75 mil on that we're going to get about 24 in a couple of years, isn't it? You know, I mean, so,
well,
it's a madness.
Yeah, just to continue on that Sancho point, it's exactly the point I'm making. Like you're saying, you get Van der Beek in, who brought him in? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he definitely wasn't wanted. But I just remember, if I look back on this whole season, I'm telling you, the best midfielders ever been was that last pre-season game against Everton when Matic and Van der Beek were both playing in there. And they never played again. It doesn't make no sense to me. But anyway, that's another player that's playing and shouldn't be, and is not in the system that we need to be. So this is it now. It's all about, please, Ten Hag, bring in, he's going to do it anyway. He's going to bring in players that suit his system. And that's the thing that I think Rangnick's had a major problem with. So I'm going to lead on to that now, because Garth, I'm going to start with you. Ralf Rangnick's impact at United on and off the pitch. We'll start with on the pitch. Actually, if you want to say on the pitch, how do you feel he's actually done in terms of coming in, and what kind of reaction or what kind of outcome do you think he's gotten for United? Do you think it's been good or bad?
Well, I mean, if we just talk, sorry, Nathan. If we're just talking on the pitch, obviously it's horrific. It's been horrific. But just going back to your initial point about not getting players in, I got saying that a quote from him after the Greenwood situation. He went to the board and said to them, "We've got 48 hours to sign another striker, or we're not making Champions League football." And he gave them 3 options: Diaz, Alvarez, and Vlahovic. And they turned around and went, "Nah." So I feel for him a little bit. I really do. The players aren't performing to a standard that we know they should play. Like, I'm looking at players walking around the pitch. These are like Premier League professional footballers. You know, apart from Fred, a lot of the players just don't seem to have like usually you get that new manager bounce, don't you? Like, none of them seem to have done it. So I don't know. On the pitch, better to this point. On the pitch, no. I don't think he is getting. Either the players aren't doing what he wants them to do, or he's just not good enough to be a top Premier League manager. But that's on the pitch. Off the pitch, I've got a different view entirely. But let's go around on the pitch. You know,
we'll stick with on the pitch.
Alex,
on the pitch.
So on the pitch for me. So basically, I feel like with the whole transfer thing, I think rightly so. He was interim manager. I don't feel like it was appropriate for him to get funds to bring in a new players to fit into his system, because the new managers are going to have a different system. So it would have been a whole kerfuffle if he brought players in that didn't fit, and it just would have been a waste of money. We spend too much money, we complain about it. So I feel like that was the right decision. I feel like during his tenure, there have been so many things that have been opposed against him. Like, obviously, we didn't expect the Greenwood thing to happen. We didn't expect Cavani to not be performing and be on a holiday, basically, like, sick notes every week. We didn't expect that. So there's that. We didn't expect to see Rashford just not like on form. There were so many factors that he had to like kind of build against. And I think for him, I feel really sorry for him, because he obviously is known as the godfather gegenpress, and I've been bantered off the park by Liverpool fans, Man United fans, Man City fans, Chelsea fans. Oh, the granddad of gegenpress, and they're telling me about this, and I'm like, listen, did I say that? But I think that the bottom line is that he couldn't implement those things with the players that we had, because they weren't willing enough to trust in him enough, or they didn't have the ability enough to run and to play the game the way that he wanted to play it. And that's just indicative of the players that we have and the way that they operate. Because the bottom line is this for me, for example, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm playing in like a football squad and I want to win, I'm going to be charging it, I'm going to be charging it whoever, because I want it. I'm hungry. I want to get it. And I'm watching these players and they're not doing any of it. They're jogging. Oh, it's not my responsibility. It's yours. I'm a forward, so I've got to stay here. No, it's everyone's problem. It's everyone's situation to defend and to attack in unison, to attack as a team, to defend as a team. So when you see like Rashford just standing there and it has a massive impact, because when you don't do your job or you don't try, then that has an impact on the midfield, which is not strong anyway. We know it's not strong, which then has an impact on the defence, which isn't strong. So it all just has a ripple effect. And so we're then going to look at, oh, look, it's Maguire, oh, it's Varane, oh, it's this person. When really, it's the whole team that didn't do that pass, or didn't defend, or didn't press, didn't close down, that makes this ripple effect. So I think for me, I can see that, you know, Rangnick tried his best. In the beginning, we saw he did the 4-2-2-2-2, which I was like, what is this? What is this? This is weird. But he tried. We watched the Crystal Palace game that we played. We watched like the early games that he had the team performing in. And I think when we actually look at the stats in the beginning, it was like he, you know, reduced the deficit or the amount of goals that we like leaked in. In the beginning, it was like, oh, thank God, that, you know, it was quite good. And I think the biggest game was like when we went to Chelsea, we went to Stamford Bridge, and we got a 1-1 there. And I think that was like what we'd gone through before that with Ollie. Seeing that, I was like, oh, this is progression. That was what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
We thought that was the start of something. And then obviously, as time's gone on, the players are just not good enough. They're not fit. When I watched this team against Liverpool at Anfield, oh my God, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with you guys. Because this is a derby. This is like the biggest game in football. And I'm not watching the Spurs Arsenal game, but I can imagine that it's going off, it's going down, that they are throwing up. And even the Everton v Liverpool game, Everton are at the bottom. They've not got the players that match Liverpool, but they were giving it something. They were actually trying, and you could literally be like, you know what? Yeah, you are where you are. You don't have the quality, but you can see the fight, and we did not have that. And that for me was the worst, most disgusting thing I've ever seen and watched my team do, because I've never seen my team capitulate in that way and just roll over. Let me get my belly tickled. For Liverpool FC, you want them to go off and win another Premier League title above, like, so. Yeah, I don't blame Ralf. I blame the players, because there's only so much manager can do. He can do the training sessions. He can stand there and say, "Hey, like, I want to do this." He can even shout it out on the pitch. But they are going to do what they're going to do, and you can see it from them. So they're the ones to blame for me. I think he tried his best, and so yeah. Sorry, I got carried away there because I'm pissed.
I've just got
everyone else.
I've got to jump back in. Sorry, Lee, just quickly. I've got to jump in about this no players situation. At that time, Greenwood's gone. We know Ralph said to the board, Cavani cannot do it. He's done for the season. All we've got is Ronaldo. Not having another striker could have cost us Champions League football and the 300 mil that we get from that. I can't agree with that. We needed another striker at the time. Ralph should have been backed. He should have been backed 100%. And the performances on the pitch, when the board aren't backing the manager, why are the players going to start backing the manager? Which is where I'm coming from as well. I mean, the players are a disgrace, but yeah, I think that we brought him in to set this club right. That's what he said we were going to do, and we didn't back him at all. I think that's it's bad. I think.
Lee, what do you think of all of that?
Oh, it's lots to take in. No, listen, my view on it is Rangnick bores the living daylights out of me, if I'm completely honest and upfront. I go back to this Man United football club. Like, I think people, that is a huge club. I tell you now, if they'd gone and got Conte there and then, they'd been in a lot better position than they are now. Whether he'd the right appointment long term or not, it's Man United football club, and they should have appointed there and then, or they should have left Solskjaer in charge, or they should have kept Carrick in charge. They've changed it, so they've worked on something all pre-season. They've done all that they're going to do. It wasn't going well, but they would get results. They would have always got results because they're a top 6, 7, 8 team. But then you bring someone in with a completely different philosophy, who's only going to be there for the next 4 or 5 months, who's completely changed everything, who's now gone from a team he wants to press as a group and stop this and stop. It was never going to work. It was never going to work. And I totally get your point about, they should have backed him. And of course, but you're not going to back someone with 50, 60, 70 million pound if the new manager who comes in the season don't want that centre forward. So you're in a catch-22. So it should never have happened, in my opinion. It should never have been appointed. It should have been kept where it was if they weren't going to go and get someone there and then who could start the process of what they wanted. And unfortunately, they've fallen short. And I blame the board. I blame the players. I blame the guy in charge now, because they're not good enough. And it is what it is. They're not good enough. You need a proven manager at Man United. And as I say, I tell you this for nothing. Man United would be in a lot better place now if Conte was in charge. Whether it had been right long term, I don't know. But they've missed the trick here. Listen, they've got the man they want now, which is good. It's exciting. But for the last 5, 6 months, it's been a shambles. And difficult to blame Rangnick. I just thought it was a really, really poor appointment. it's nothing to get excited about, was it, when it happened? And I think that's the poor thing, and that's where it's been hard on the guy, because I'm sure, listen, he's a genius and he knows a lot more on football than I do, and probably a lot of us do. But for Man United, you need that excitement, you need that passion, you need that willingness to win, you need them people on the sideline who give the desire and get their players who want to run for a brick wall. I want to turn the telly off when I listen to him talk. So if he's doing that to me, he could be doing the same to his players.
Yeah, but you're not paid to listen to him. You don't know.
I actually like when he talks. I feel like he's chatting the truth. He's
I like it.
All the inside tea. I'm like, yes, keep talking, Ralph. Keep telling us. Yeah,
you know what?
Go on.
No, he's very gregarious. There's no two ways about it. He can go on a little bit sometimes, can't he?
Yeah.
But sorry, Nath.
The more I'm listening to all of you guys and that, I'm starting to realize something more. That it really is a shambles upstairs. It really is a shambles, because that's where it all's come from. And it's like, you get one person and then all the philosophy changes. You change and then all of a sudden philosophy's changing. It's like really expecting the boys to come out and go fully pressing when they ain't players that can do that. It was never going to happen, as you just said. So they should have just kept Ollie and said, you know what, we'll ride with the rough, with the smooth, like go through this bad patch, end of the season, then we'll come to it. Let's get everything ready for the end of the season if we're going to move on. That's what I think.
Kept
Carrick's what I was going to say.
Yeah, couple of good results. You kept the same. He was working there. He knew this. You've changed the whole thing for someone for 6 months. Then players will switch off. I don't care what anyone says. All players are the same. You switch off. Especially if you're sitting on a lucrative contract for 2 or 3 years, they're not bothered. And you've got, he'll be out the door. I'll try when the new gaffer comes in. I'll give it a real good pre-season then. There's your problems.
You know what? The one thing that I will say about Ralph, though, is, I don't think it's a lot to do with his fault, because he's been dealt a very difficult card. Like, he's got no options anyway. Yeah. I'm looking at the team. Everyone's gone on loan that could have been an option to change it up a bit. And then he's there sitting there going, I've got nothing. And I've got players bang out of form that I can't even drop. I can't even take Rashford off and sit him there, because I need him back in the side, because when he's not in the side, we're so bad. And when he's in the side, we're so bad. What am I going to do? And then you've got McTominay and Fred then get injured. And then you've got Maguire who you got to rely on. And then you got Dalot and Telles, who we thought was going to be better than Wan-Bissaka and Shaw. And I realised after all of that, they're not better than Wan-Bissaka or Shaw. They actually work. They actually don't have more quality going forward. They just look like they might have. So it's all a nightmare. Everything's become a nightmare. And he's sitting there going, I can't do nothing with this side. Let's just please get to the end of the season and hand it over to Ten Hag. That's what I can see happening. And I don't really blame him too much. As Lee said earlier on in the session, he said it's the players. And this is clearly the players. They're not good enough to wear the Man United shirt.
Look how bad Tottenham were, Nathan. Look how bad Tottenham were. And I know they're on now, and they're 3-0 up.
3-0 up, mate. 3-0 up.
But they're going to be 1 point off the Champions League. Man United went there and played them off the pitch and won the game with Solskjaer in charge. We've gone that far backwards. Something isn't right, mate. Something isn't right. So whether it's upstairs, downstairs, or wherever,
it's a mid-off. A mid-off is happening right now. Spurs v Arsenal.
Not good.
Let's be real. It's a mid-off.
In fairness to Ralph, just to defend him, he also beat Spurs. It's one of his few wins. It's one of his few wins, isn't it? The Spuds, mate.
But my point on that is...
I was just joking. I was being facetious now.
What I'm saying is how much more organised they are. How much more they defend so much better. And Man United are all over the place.
Yeah, but I don't think...
We're shambles.
I don't think Conte was the answer for us. I think it was a short-term solution. I honestly do. I don't think we could see Conte being our manager for the next 2-3 years. I feel like with Ten Hag, it's a bit more reliable and a bit more
long-term. It's more long-term and can get some foundations in place.
Yeah, just something. I just think Conte is more short-term and what we've got. Yeah.
I like Conte, but I think the board thought he might be another Mourinho. Is what their problem with the board was, wasn't it?
He definitely would have done better. He would have definitely done better, and we would have probably got Champions League. But for the long run, I'm probably not the one that you want to stick with, because Ten Hag now, we're looking at him and going, right, next 10 years, can you do it? Can you stick around for 10 years and put something in place like you had at Ajax. That's what we're looking at. But just quickly before we move on, I want to just read into this. Impact, I don't think so, but has shown us the mirror. We are not as big as we think of us. United is on a slump, and we are still dreaming of title every season. That's one thing Rangnick has done. He's exposed exactly what we are and exactly what every player is capable of and not capable of. So that's good. That's one good thing. Then you've got Jules. He says, I go United every week, and it's so bad, really bad under Ole. It was 100 times better, though, under Ole.
I'm not having this rose-tintedness about Ole. The end of Ole was a shambles.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If he goes to United every week, was he at the Manchester Derby? Because I was there, and it was not best. That was awful.
5-0 by Liverpool at home. We got tonked 4-2 by Leicester, 4-1 by Watford. Like the end of this rose-tintedness about Solskjaer is not right, because it was diabolical at the end.
Remember, we did score 4 or 5 goals on multiple occasions, beating a lot of teams, and we didn't have a run like this. That's the only difference I can say.
Yeah, like I mean.
Yeah, the COVID year don't count. Yeah.
It does.
Sorry.
It's still football.
COVID year, when Liverpool were falling off, Man City were good, but in the beginning of the season, Man City, had a slump. It's like, come on. We
still bagged 4 or 5 goals for the most time.
Yeah, but still, I mean.
No, I'm not saying it was. We all know what we think about Ole. You know what I think about him already.
Okay, put it into perspective.
But he's better than what we're doing now.
Put it into perspective. If Ole, because you're talking about Ole then, Ole had Greenwood, he had a Cavani, he had a Rashford, he had all these players performing and doing stuff, yeah? Well, barely in the beginning of the season. I'm saying that if we carried on letting him be our manager post the Watford game, and we had the Greenwood situation and etc. and Cavani, do you honestly think what would Ole have done with the team and the squad that we have right now?
Nothing.
This is Ole's team. That's what you got to remember.
Do you think he would have benched Maguire?
Nope.
Put Elanga on. So a goal that Elanga scored, for us against Atleti, that would never have happened, because he never would have brought Elanga on for that. Never.
But you know what?
He never would have.
One thing I will say. I don't know if you agree with me here, but he would not make Rashford get morale like this.
No, Rashford would be on every week. Every single week.
Surely.
No, this is what I keep coming back to. Ralph's had no signings. This rot in the team, this rot of the players not giving two about our team, started with Ole. It isn't Ralph's fault that these players aren't performing. This was the end of Ole's reign. This was exactly what it was. Like I said, go back and have a look at the last 10 games.
Listen,
turn the club around. Really?
Yeah.
What are you chatting about?
Aaron Wan-Bissaka would be playing every single week. We would never have seen Dallo. We would never have seen Telles, obviously, unless Luke Shaw was injured. So what I'm saying is, if it was under Ole, we would be in a much worse state. So let's not get it twisted.
I don't know if.
No, 100% no.
We never would have seen Matic. We never would have seen. Listen, it would have been McTominay and Fred to the dawn of time. Even if Fred was injured, he would have said, "No, you got to go on. You got to play." Sorry, no. We would have seen that to the end of the season. So anyway. Stop living in this dreamland.
I agree entirely with Alex. Yeah, it's a dreamland about this Solskjaer. It was awful at the end.
It wouldn't have been good enough, but I don't think it would have took us to these levels. Lee, what do you think of that?
Oh, just me. I'm the only one backing Rangnick here. Typical Paul. The usual nonsense.
No, listen, it's difficult, isn't it? I think it was very poor under Solskjaer. I was one that was calling for him in the end. I thought it was a poor appointment in the first place. I just feel that they could have. It's Man United. Go and get the manager you want when the minute you sack Solskjaer. Just go and get it, because you've just upset. You've just. Listen, I'm sure Rangnick's going to have a fantastic book. There's going to be he's good enough, he's not good enough, and there'll probably be more not good enough than good enough that he can show Ten Hag, which is great. But for me, you go and get the person you want. The minute you decide to sack your manager, you go and get that man who's going to go and rebuild for you. The minute you've gone and got someone for 5 months, you're not going to back him. Your players are going to down tools. It's a fact. It's a fact.
And we've seen it.
And we've seen it, exactly. And I feel sorry for the people that are the Man U fans. live in London who have to travel hundreds of miles to go and watch Man United week in, week out, because it's been really poor, really, really poor. And for the standards they set, it isn't good enough, and that's a fact.
Well, that's
Listen,
exactly.
I would travel to the ends of the earth to watch this club play, but if they play like that, it's very painful. So yeah, like it's horrible.
Right. So, okay, we're coming up to the hour. We're up to the hour now. So let me just read these last comments. Hey, the comments have been absolutely banging today. So hats off to you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We got PL is not a dream we should be wanting every season. Every manager has to rectify old managers' mistakes. It at least take 10 hours 3 seasons to build the team his way. Will not be a magic run. We got Katie saying Ole got us Champions League and the final, and you think Rangnick is better.
No one said that. No one said that. What I said is that Solskjaer wouldn't have done any better. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Like, if you gave Rangnick the same players last season, I'm sure he would have done the same, if not better. It's like, yeah,
it's hard.
Please,
It's a hard one. I think Ole was a good manager. I think
I don't even think that.
He gave people confidence. That's all he was good at, giving people confidence.
Why did he get sacked though? If he was that great, why did he get sacked?
No, he wasn't good at everything. He was good at giving people confidence. That's what I think. He gave a lot of players confidence. Like, listen, guys, just go
like Bally?
Yourself. Like, make sure that they're just
so why were they leaking in goals in the season? Come on, okay.
Yeah, they're not good enough.
If there was so much unity in that dressing room with good man management, how comes there was so many leaks flying out of that dressing room about everyone how much they hated being there?
Even about Ole. Even about Ole. They were saying he was a kid. Like, it was, come on. Like,
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is one of my heroes. He's one of my all-time heroes, man. But towards the end, it got too much for him. And this is
the guy, but let's not be real. Let's be real about the situation.
I totally agree with that. I think we're on the same page there anyway. But yeah, it's been an amazing show where everybody's got their feelings off their chest. Yeah, I didn't
realise I was so passionate about Solskjaer. That's just come out of nowhere. That is.
I know.
I'm not having this no more. Yeah, I'm not having this no more. I've been reading this for weeks about Solskjaer.
Stop trying to like all the Ole sexuals coming out. Like, I'm sick of it. And we're all doing this in hindsight, but please, like, stop. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. It's been an absolute amazing 1 hour. It's flown by. Tell him Lee FF's for. Yeah.
Should be about 7-0.
Is it really that bad?
7-0.
No, it should be. It's Arsenal got 10 men. So
listen,
it's been a murder.
Let me get off so I can watch, please. Let me go.
Right,
See you soon. Cheers, guys.
Coming on the show.
Bye-bye.
In the comments, like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, guys. Take care, everybody. Stay safe and wash your hands.